Joining us now to talk about this latest incident and why it keeps happening is conservative radio host Ed Martin and former police official Mathew Fogg. Matt, I'm going to start with you because this is something that I have always thought of as a former cop beat reporter. That's how I came up in this business. Is this really about race, or is it a country that has essentially trained its police officers to treat the people, the citizens of America, as its enemies rather than people they're supposed to serve?
Well, it is about race, and I did 30 years in law enforcement, and what I'm saying is I noticed that there was definitely two ways of standards of operations when we dealt with people of color, neighborhoods of color, than we dealt with people affluent or white neighborhoods. So race is a very intricate part of law enforcement, and until we understand that and realize a lot of these incidents that are happening disproportionately to African Americans, that's when you begin to see it. Yes, I agree. I mean, if law enforcement was an equal opportunity enforcement operation where we were treating everybody equally, yes, we probably wouldn't have these incidents the way we're having them. But what we're finding is, if you look at all the statistics, we find racially there is a disproportionate number of African Americans that are killed on simple traffic stops and things that where it should not escalate to the violence that it does.
That's undeniable, but Ed, I have seen almost as many videos on YouTube where we all tend to see these things of poorer white people, people who aren't wearing suits, for example, being dragged out of their cars and also treated by police officers in a seemingly disrespectful way. And we also live in a country where police officers are armed to the teeth, and many of them are dressed like soldiers as if they were doing battle in Iraq. There does seem to be a certain police. Go ahead.
Well, and I would hone in, if I could, in terms of reforming things, on why are we stopping so many people for things like tags, right? And the reason why is because our law enforcement is, and our police departments and our small towns and others are raising money off of it. So I think that there's lots of reasons to do police reform. As you say, too many tanks are being run by law enforcement. We could talk about that, but let me pause on this. There's one culprit in this country that is driving the race agenda, and it's the mainstream media. When Van Jones sits over on CNN and says that if Derek Chauvin is not convicted, the message will be that it's open season on black men in America. When you watch the man that was killed up on Capitol Hill was killed by a man of color. The guy in Colorado that killed people last week, a person of color. The people that were involved in the shooting in Minnesota the other day that was a murder, that was a tragedy, people of color. George Floyd, the doctors, the policemen around him, other than Chauvin, people of color. We don't have a race problem in this country. We have a problem when people are killed by cops. I'm for the accountability, but the way it's cherry-picked by Van Jones, CNN, Fox News, everybody else is making this country crazy. This country is not, as it's described, a racist place. It's not a place where race is the factor. The fact is we're being driven crazy by big tech and big media that wants a race war, and shame on the people that don't stand up and say, cut it out, get to the bottom of bad actors, but don't burn our cities. They're burning our cities because our leaders are refusing to say what the problem is.
All right, to you, police official, go ahead, answer the charge.
Okay, look, I've worked in law enforcement for 30 years, and I agree with the individual when he says that we don't want it to be a race issue, but America has to understand something. It has been a race issue from the time. Look, I'm in the middle of a class action lawsuit where we got over 2,000 U.S. Marshals claiming race discrimination internally. Now, imagine how that works when we translate that to the street. What I'm finding again, over and over again, is we police differently in white neighborhoods. If we police the same way, I would be fine with it. But I see that we don't. So I've experienced it. I'm a part of it. And when you talk about black officers, if we're a part of a system that says you can shoot certain people and get away with it, certain also, just like white officers will kill. The bottom line is we find that black lives in black neighborhoods really don't matter, and that's what I begin to see, and that's one of the issues that I wanted to bring up.
Ed, doesn't he have a point? Don't you think if you, Ed Martin, were driving your car around with an expired little sticker tag that most of us sometimes even miss, you probably would not be pulled over for a good couple of months. But it seems like every young African-American male who has that happen, man, they pull him over almost like within 24 hours. So,
I'm happy to have that conversation. And look, I grew up in New Jersey. I don't know if I've told you, Rick. And Jersey City is where I was. Pretty rough neighborhoods. I've been pulled over for having something in my car. I was taught from a young age: you put your hands where the cops can see it, turn the light on, and whatever they say, you say do it. I'm not blaming the guy that died up in Minnesota, but when you pull your hands from the back and jump in the car, you're doing something different than complying with what's happening. But here's the point. If there's racial disparity, let's get to the bottom of it. But that's not the same as letting our cities burn because people want to say the cops are racist. There was a black man, a cop, next to the woman trying to detain the guy in Minnesota. Is he a racist? Chauvin was aided by cops and blacks and Asians, cops. Are they all racist? It's nonsense meant to drive TV ratings and to drive Kamala Harris and the left to where they think they're winning.
Matt, you get the last 30 seconds. If you could answer that, Charles.
Okay, listen. The culture is what it is, and once that culture is in place, it's like a plantation. You had black overseers on the plantation would hit you harder with the whip than the white person would because you
That's
worked
not
on that
America
plantation.
right now.
And,
It's not
in
America
culture,
right now.
in culture, in law enforcement, that's what we do. We know that. I know in a black neighborhood I can get away with stuff that I bet not go into no white neighborhood, pull you over and do the same thing. It's not going to happen.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the conversation. It's passionate.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks for sharing your ideas with us, and we certainly will come back to this topic again soon. My thanks again.